Canada Post. Oh yeah, I kind of want to open with something about the Canada Post strike because I kind of forget what I was gonna say, but I figure we'll get there eventually.
Wants us to cover families in Thunder Bay accuse landlord of illegally shutting power, threats. Yeah. The title of this article does not do this article justice.
Okay.
Families in Thunder Bay accuse...
Do you want to just read the article and we can just yell at it as we go?
Sure, we'll do a reading of this article right now to start the episode.
To start the episode?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So, today we're starting with families in Thunder Bay accuse landlord of illegally shutting power, threats amid calls for better protections.
Yeah, welcome back to Theory Night in Canada, everyone.
So, we're doing our first ever just straight up article reading. I was going to summarize it, but this article is insane, and we should all react to it live.
God bless.
Okay. Laura Petit moved into her current rental in Thunder Bay, Ontario, because she wanted to live somewhere quiet and accessible while recovering from open heart surgery.
First of all, don't move to Thunder Bay.
Right, but it is a place that is quiet.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
However, she said her County Park rental home has brought a slew of new stresses. She lives in the home with her brother, who she said sometimes does maintenance work on it at their own cost. But Petit says she still lives in fear of electrical fires, having her utilities shut off, and threats from her landlord. I don't feel safe. We're kind of living from one day to another, said Petit, 58 years old, a former personal support worker. So this is a former personal support worker living in a trailer park with her brother, recovering from open heart surgery.
Yeah, I can't Also, electrical fires and stuff like that.
We'll get to that.
I gotta say, if one of your concerns is electrical fires, that means that this place is a disaster.
Yeah.
Like exposed wiring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't live every day worried about electrical fires.
We'll get to the worry about electrical fires in a sec. Petit and other tenants and their advocates say more needs to be done to protect people from landlords who repeatedly violate housing laws. Petit said that when she first moved in, she noticed some maintenance issues, including a leaky roof, blown fuses, a broken kitchen light, and a damaged door. Most of the outlets in the kitchen didn't work or emitted smoke when she plugged items into them.
Wait, what? Most of the outlets?
I don't know if I would classify this as maintenance issues anymore.
Holy shit.
No wonder she's afraid of electrical fires.
Yeah, this isn't maintenance. This is it's literally a heap of trash.
Yes.
Like the fact it sounds like more than one of the outlets, like a bit small when you put something in it.
Yeah, if an outlet doesn't work, that's a maintenance issues. If one outlet does work, you have different issues altogether.
Despite multiple requests, her landlord did not fix the problems, said Petit. She began to worry the electrical problems could lead to a fire. Her landlord, Jesse McDougall, lives in British Columbia and doesn't always reply quickly to her text calls or emails, said Petit. So there's already an issue here, right?
Yeah.
Sort of an absentee landlord.
Yeah, landlords are allowed to exist.
Yeah, he lives in British Columbia, not Ontario.
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, this ain't your good mom and pop landlord.
Exactly. This is actually, as I'll say after the article, this is exactly what every mom and pop landlord is like.
Yes.
The unpaid bills started coming in the mail, she said, while the utilities and internet were included in her rent, Petit said. McDougall would direct her to open the letters addressed to him. They contained, quote, outstanding balance, arrears notice, and service disconnection may take place notices from hydro, water, and internet providers. We try to be nice, be patient. We fix a few things that we didn't damage, Petit said, but yet we still go through this. Mm-hmm. When power and internet would get cut off, McDougall would request early rent payments or extra money to have the services restored, she said. So this is despite the fact that in the contract for the lease, he's supposed to pay for utilities and all that stuff.
Yeah. Landlords are truly living their paycheck to their paycheck.
Yeah. The hydro is disconnected. They can't give me detail, she said in a text to McDougall on August 15th that CBC has seen. Send me money, McDougall wrote back.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh. You know what this reminds me of? Did you see that? Yeah. Have you seen that picture where it's like there are rats in the bathroom, and then the landlord is like, "No pets allowed."
Holy shit!
Send me money. Send me money.
When she paid the bill directly to the utility... This is where it starts to get crazy. When she paid the bill... Yes. This article gets crazy. When she paid the bill directly to the utility company to get her power restored, she said, McDougall sent her a series of voice memos, which she also shared with CBC. The phone number the voice memos were sent from is the same number.
Put a girl on.
McDougall listed as his preferred phone number on an... Sorry, these are the same number McDougall listed as his preferred phone number on an eviction application he submitted to the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Board, LTB. So we know this is from his account.
Yeah.
A male voice can be heard screaming and swearing. Bad, Laura, bad, said the memo. Now you're being stupid, and I expect an apology from you, you jackass. So this was in response to her paying the hydro bill herself.
I was just gonna say, what did she do? What did she do?
Petit
Okay, genuinely, is this like a Vancouverite crackhead landlord?
Sort of, yeah. Petit told CBC he's trying to scare us, and to me, that's not right. I pay my rent every month on time. Other tenants relate similar issues with landlord. Petit and multiple other current and former tenants who had rented from McDougall told CBC they experienced vital services being cut off, harassment, and maintenance issues. Shirley Sutherland said she moved into one of McDougall's properties in 2019, but left last year after her water was cut off for 6 months.
What?
Holy shit.
After her water was cut off for 6 months?
The neighbors gave me water. I filled up tubs and whatnot. It was like living back when you had no running water, said Sutherland. She said she eventually got frustrated she couldn't shower or do laundry, so she stopped paying rent. According to Sutherland, McDougall, quote, said there's something wrong that needed to be done with the pipes, but still I don't know if they fixed it. CBC has seen a lease and eviction application filed by McDougall confirming Sutherland's tenancy, but was not able to independently verify her accounts of vital service interruptions at that address. So, this guy's renting out properties where he provides utilities, but he doesn't actually provide these utilities, basically at random.
Also, multiple properties now, so it's getting deeper.
Landlords have an obligation to provide vital services and ensure a rental unit is safe and habitable, even during disputes over rent or other issues, said lawyer Douglas Kwan. So, even if people are not paying rent, you are not allowed to cut off utilities.
Right, and I think this is the thing, like, there's a lot of landlords who take advantage of people who are just, like, timid or scared to speak out and stuff like that, and they make so much money off of just like breaking the law essentially. Like,
well, fundamentally, like, the power imbalance is you can try to complain more, but the more annoying you get, the greater chance you have of losing your home.
Yeah, exactly. So water, fuel, electricity, and gas are all considered vital and may not be cut off under any circumstances, as is heat between September 1st and June 15th. Cutting off a utility is not a legal remedy, said Kwan, Director of Advocacy and Legal Services at the Advocacy Centre for Tenants Ontario. Unpaid rent and other complaints need to be addressed through an application to the Landlord and Tenants Board. So, landlord, this is the next heading, landlord previously violated tenants' rights, court docs. Court documents obtained by CBC showed the LTB found McDougall withheld vital services and harassed previous tenants. Mitchell Kent, a paralegal representing Jimmy Caper and Blair Soloway, said his clients had asked McDougall to fix a leaky toilet and other problems, but no repairs were done. The landlord submitted an application to evict them for non-payment of rent. At a November 22nd LTB hearing, it was determined the landlord withheld electricity for almost 2 months and threatened the tenants with eviction and violence. So, quote, GTFO, before things get worse, I am planning to take this physical here with both of you. In all caps, wrath of the landlord.
Oh my god!
No way!
Reads an email to the tenants from McDougall, who also goes by the name, quote, Powerhouse. Quote, do you know that I was a bouncer at Hell's Angels bars all throughout my 20s?
No.
I didn't like drinking too much, but I sure did enjoy beating the piss out of stupid Gentiles like you that are...
Holy shit!
Said in the email.
Wait, what?
This is like...
I don't know why he says Gentiles, because his last name's like Scottish.
I don't know, maybe his mom's Jewish.
Maybe.
This is like
he's Mormon.
an argument that you
maybe
make
he is.
in your head and then feel embarrassed about.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
And it's like a court...
it and then sent it as an email. Like,
And then did it again! And then did it again!
holy
Kent
shit.
said Caper
my
and
God.
Soloway decided to leave the house and move into a trailer because the threats left them afraid for their safety. The LTB determined McDougall owed the tenants $6,579.61 when offset by the $5,882.93 in unpaid rent. McDougall owed just under $700. Kent said his clients never received any money. Next heading.
I believe it.
I like evicting people, says landlord. According to the court documents obtained by CBC, McDougall has had other dealings with the law that aren't related to being a landlord. He's awaiting trial after being charged with uttering threats to cause death or bodily harm in West Vancouver in September 2023, the documents say. The allegations have not yet been tested in court. McDougall was also found guilty of assault after incidents in Surrey, BC in 2021 and Sudbury, Ontario in 2011.
Uh-oh.
Average Sudbury resident. CBC reached out to McDougall for comment by email. Quote, I am a UFC fighter with a 100% knockout rate when I perform. Fearing me is wise, said McDougall in an emailed response to the CBC.
Okay. This just sounds like the U.S. Navy SEAL copy pasta.
This is like better.
McDougall has never been a UFC fighter.
I was gonna ask.
Hey, shout out to the for them.
I was gonna ask because there's like one guy who has I think a 100% knockout rate, and he just won a decision after 18 back-to-back knockouts.
McDougall has never been an Ultimate Fighting Champion fighter, a UFC spokesperson said via email. I like that the CBC actually reached out to the UFC.
Right? Like, yo, is this guy for real? Just want to make sure.
And it's not like they checked the records or something. Like the UFC got back to them about this freak landlord just threatening to kill people.
McDougall agreed to an interview, but it said it would require scheduling an appointment with his office, which would cost $77.77.
What?
CBC's journalistic standards and practices prohibits paying for information from a source in a story. After CBC...
Is that legal to charge for that? Or I guess it's for their interview, not for any meeting with him.
I don't know. I don't know if that's for any meeting or not.
I want to know if he does that to his tenants as well. I would be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah. After CBC informed McDougall of this policy, he said he was raising the price to $180. Quote, eviction is just part of the game, right? And I like evicting people now, McDougall said on his podcast called Mr. McDougal in the April 2022 episode, Oceans of Homes, Eviction. In the same episode, McDougall said he was facing financial pressures from tenants who didn't pay rent and felt frustrated with long wait times at the LTB. I am forced to take things physical, this is a quote. It is what it is, man. I'll go to jail for 90 days. I still profit in jail. Heading. Tenants say they feel LTB favors landlords. No shit.
Average CBC article talking about landlordism.
This is your most moral landlord right here.
Landlord-tenant conflicts are becoming more inflamed, partially due to dysfunction with the LTB, said Kwan, the tenant activist lawyer. The LTB was found to be, quote, fundamentally failing to provide swift justice, according to a May 2023 report by the province's ombudsman. A tribunal backlog ballooned to more than 38,000 cases, as the average time it took the board to schedule hearings went from days to 7 to 8 months, the report said.
Yeah.
Tenants wait longer than landlords to have their concerns addressed. No shit, said the report. Tenant applications take up to 2 years to be scheduled, compared to the 6 to 9 months it takes to schedule landlord applications for a hearing. While the LTB now estimates it is scheduling hearings faster this year than in 2023, many tenants are waiting triple the time of the official estimates, the Federation of Metro Tenants Associations told CBC last month.
Yeah, this is one of those beautiful, like, I guess it was happening before COVID.
Yeah.
But especially with COVID, I feel like, I mean, one, all the leaning out of, like, public stuff or whatever is a big part of this. So everything just takes forever. But yeah, also when people started to realize what landlords had to do, well, I guess everyone always did, but we're kind of having a resurgence in it where it was more in like the 80s. And we're realizing now that you start complaining about shit, nothing can happen. Because the whole court backlog happened with COVID too, and that's still an issue, right?
I haven't heard, but I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, like, there was such a big pile, and it's just not getting chipped away.
I don't think they have an incentive. Who got that stat about, like, how many people in the government are landlords themselves?
I mean,
everyone.
Everyone knows.
44% of all sitting MPs are landlords,
There you go.
including like all cabinet ministers,
including all party leaders, including
Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, through his wife.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Talk about. So there's no.
Polyev was spitting when he called him a Maserati Marxist.
There's no one. None of them have any interest.
I don't think Singh is even a Marxist.
No,
no. So I don't think.
No, he's not even like whatever the fuck a Bernsteiner.
Honestly, Polyev is just getting like a
Bernstein?
chip of money to
Bernstein.
say Maserati in his public speaking.
So Sutherland says she didn't try to contact the LTB when her water was cut off for 6 months because she didn't think they would be able to help her.
That's
True.
true. Mm-hmm.
I think the tribunal is with landlords, you know what I mean? They don't look at the people that rent places. They should do it equally.
No, they should favor tenants.
Kwan said seeing individual... Actually, yeah, landlords should be banned from testifying at the LTB, and if you file a complaint, you should get the house.
Yeah.
This is the real owner-occupant scheme
This
that we
would
should be undertaking.
It would unironically almost immediately solve the housing crisis.
Yes. Kwan said seeing individual landlords repeatedly violate the law without any visible consequences degrades tenants' trust in the LTP's ability to protect them. CBC requested comment from Tribunals Ontario, which oversees the LTB, but did not receive a response by publication time. As for Petit, she said she's searching for a new rental, but competition for units within her budget is fierce. Quote, I want to live somewhere where I can be at peace and enjoy my life whatever time I have left.
The competition for houses within her budget is fierce.
Yeah.
Is such a slick way of saying that, like, cheap housing barely exists anymore.
Yeah, or doesn't exist.
Yeah, actually, I just realized a phrase in there. Competition is fierce. Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, everyone's trying to find housing that they can afford, and you can't do it anymore. Like,
anyways,
holy.
So average CBC article writer.
Like, they're better. They're way better than most. They're way better than most.
It's not surprising that the LTB is stacked in the landlord's favor because literally the function of a bourgeois state is protect
bourgeois interests.
Exactly, right? So, but it is crazy just how, like, so I was looking at apartments recently. I found apartments where literally the posting flagrantly violates tenant rights laws.
Yeah.
So I started recording them, and I was going to file complaints, but you are not allowed to file a complaint against a unit you do not occupy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, so if you see someone else violating the law, you are not allowed to complain.
Report them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We need to set up a snitch line for against landlords.
Imagine if that's how it worked, like, in...
Like, for any crime.
Yeah,
any other crime.
I know this guy robbed my house. He told me he did it, but because I didn't see him do it, or...
No.
Actually, no.
Okay, wait.
I saw him do it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question. This being a bourgeois state and all, are those violations technically crimes? Are they?
Yes, they are actually crimes.
Okay, that's surprising.
But another thing that this will do is if you sign on to the house
it's
to get...
I'm not saying there's... Sorry to interrupt, but to answer Liam's question, I'm not saying these are, like, things I didn't like in the postings. These are violations of the law.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, they're, like restrictions on the tenancy that are not allowed to be restrictions on
but,
tenancy.
like, under the criminal code, are they crimes punishable?
Oh, by prison?
Are they misdemeanors?
Misdemeanors don't exist in Canada. We don't have, like, a felony misdemeanor distinction,
Okay.
but they're not, like... I guess they would be civil violations rather than criminal violations.
Yeah, so, like, shit that doesn't have any force.
Yeah. I think you would get fined, but, like...
So, exactly, like, they're not crimes in the sense of you're gonna get in real trouble for them, but you're just gonna have to pay, like...
$700 or whatever.
Pocket change.
But, like, what I wanted to do was report them anyways.
Yeah.
Right? But it's also, like, I literally cannot. The only situation in which you can report someone for a tenant's law violation is if you are... like, at risk of being evicted by them. Which is crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what are some examples of the things you saw?
Well, most of them were, like, people who were, like, no pets allowed. Which is sort of like the green M&Ms of tenant law violations. You know, like the green M&M story? I forget
Sexy M&M?
No.
That's the brown
That's
M&M.
No, there's, like, this... I forget what band it was, but some band had... I think it might have been the Beatles or something. Had, like a rule in their contract that was, like... in the green room, there cannot be green M&Ms in the M&M bowl. Like, you have to provide M&Ms, but there can't be that M&M.
Someone's got to go through and pick the green ones out.
Yeah, and the point of that was because when they arrived, they would look at that first, and if that was not the case, then they knew the venue wasn't following the contract, was probably skirting other issues like safety or whatever, right?
Okay,
so no pets allowed is a very low-stakes tenant law violation, especially because I don't have pets that I would be moving with, but it does signal that the landlord does not know the law. Or knows it and is willing to violate it.
Okay.
And also, like, generally with stuff like this, if they advertise out front and they do know the law, what they're expecting is they'll either get people who don't know the law or get people who can be intimidated by the fact that they sign a contract that has something illegal in it. Because what a lot of people don't realize is even if you sign a contract, if there's something illegal in the contract, that can be void. You know, like if you sign a contract that says no pets in my like apartment or whatever, you can just bring pets in. Oh, one sec. Is this still recording? Yeah, we're good. You can just bring pets in, and there's nothing they can do about it. You're fine, and they might complain or whatever, but they can fuck off.
Yeah, I think I had a situation where our landlord like told us to pay our first and last month's rent when we first moved in.
Yeah.
And you're only supposed to pay one of those, not both. The last month's rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that functions as like essentially a deposit too.
Yeah, and so when we were moving out, I said I don't even know what the fuck his point was. He said like to send us the thing, to send him the rent, and then if the unit was good, then he would send it back or some shit like that. I'm like, buddy, we're not even supposed to send you this person last rent.
Yeah.
We're even, and we don't care what happens. And like that's exactly what we did. Like, yeah, they take advantage of people who are afraid, because it's a very easy to be afraid. They control your means of living.
Like they are the boundary between you and homelessness.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, fuck the sending last month of rent, because if it wasn't for that shit, I know you can very easily get away with just not paying for your last month of rent.
Yeah.
So I hate that they're allowed to do that, because I could have saved so much money.
Yeah, they also rely on the fact that like bourgeois law is like impenetrable except for like a caste of like specially trained law priests.
Yeah.
So like if you don't have like a fucking background in like tenancy law, you're kind of like effed.
At least there are people like the lawyer in the article Kwan, who are like lawyers who take like pro bono tenancy cases, but there are very few of them.
Yeah.
Just like
because I mean, most lawyers are like evil.
Yeah.
Honestly, those are some of the realest people to ever do
them
it.
and public defenders.
Yeah, there's the Advocacy Center for Tenants Ontario.
Yeah.
Although public defenders are like suicidal half the time.
Yeah, that's because
they have to defend everyone.
Yeah.
That job is crazy. Like, just think about it, just for like any stretch, like think about just a regular day as someone who's a public defender. Like,
you have to defend genuinely innocent people and some of the worst people to ever exist.
But you also need to take on like 400 cases at once.
Yeah.
You are working
for
like
little to nothing.
You are working every second of every day, and you're not even making enough money to buy like your weight in cocaine to help make it bearable.
Shout out to public defenders. Shout out to them.
There's also apparently epic like eviction prevention and community, which I learned about because one of my patients was about to be evicted a few days out, and she was like, I need to go home right now. She's a bit manic.
Eviction prevention in community?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
They help people who are about to be evicted?
It's like a social work program. But
Okay.
But I had to try and get our social worker to call her social worker, and like we just basically wrote a letter like, if you could please give her a few more days, she needs to be in the hospital, but she's not.
Yeah, that's fucked, man. Staying in the hospital and then just getting an eviction letter, that's
I think it was coming
fucking crazy.
I think it was already coming, like, and fortunately she at least had social workers working for her, but she was in there and she was like, I think just very anxious about a lot of stuff, and I mean, I think most of it was the fact that she was about to be evicted in like 5 days, which is reasonable. And I was like, okay, well, I guess you don't really have to be here, but we'll just arrange like an outpatient follow-up. But I was like, I don't know what we can do to help, because it's also not my job, so I just have like told the social worker, and she just wrote this letter that we just signed off.
That's honestly, landlords got to be one of the worst things for the mental health of a community ever.
But also, I would like to point out, this was a guy and not a landlord corporation.
Yeah.
I hate mom and pop landlords so fucking much.
Right,
I hope they all get proletarianized, or preferably are by their tenants.
Yeah.
So actually, mom and pop
may have to bleep that part.
Mom and
I
pop
didn't say any specific ones should, but in general, they should be.
Yeah.
And that's on record.
we just need to make sure Bennett's last name never comes out, so that his employers do not find out.
I've censored it quite a few times. We do not do a good job at not doxing ourselves, and we also opened the last episode by talking about doxing other people.
I mean, you did a good job of bleeping out when I like revealed personal information the past few times I've been on.
I've done my best. I also changed the length of the bleeps from the original content, just in case.
True.
But actually, mom and pop landlords are like when people say, "Oh, mom and pop landlords are good," mom and pop landlords, I'm gonna just go on record as saying they're okay. I thought you were gonna go to corporate landlords.
They're worse than corporate
They're
landlords.
worse than corporate landlords because corporate landlords are like a few people. They get very limited voting power and like they can use money to sway the law. But when it comes to like, person to person influence or like case by case influence, you know who shows up in fucking droves? Every single mom and pop landlord who doesn't even make that much individually, but as a class of people, they're able to just grind everything to a halt, gum up every system, and make sure that the corporate landlords, despite not thinking that they defend them every step of the way.
Well, the petit bourgeois are always a shield for the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
Because the petit bourgeois are totally anxious about having to get a real job, right? So they're like, they do everything in their power to protect landlordry in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Because they like, any threat to landlordry, corporate landlords will shrug off more or less. Like, they have a much larger buffer that they can survive regulations or fines with, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas a small landlord, any pro-tenancy reform is going to proletarianize some of them. And they're all super paranoid about having to get an office job or something.
Right, yeah.
Just like social democratic labor reform is going to forcibly proletarianize small business owners.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless, of course, you have specific carve-outs, like in every fucking economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like, mom and pop landlords, they don't even make that much fucking money. But, like, the thing is that they will defend the ability to get someone else to pay off your mortgage with, like, a couple $100 extra. And they're like, oh, this is nice for me. I get a couple $100 and it's not even that much. But what you're also defending is the ability for corporations to get normal people to pay all their mortgages for them.
Yeah.
For free. Like... And also more efficiently, because bigger corporations are much more efficient. They'll be able to have dedicated
big corporations
repair
are
guys,
much more
so
efficient.
they'll have lower expenses.
And big corporations are also more aware of the law because they will have legal teams, and will generally not violate the law because it is not worth it for them to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they don't want to have to deal with the landlord and tenancy board. That's going to cost them money.
And also, they have the ability to keep trying to push rent upwards, even if people aren't living in their buildings.
Yeah.
Because they know it pushes the value of their buildings up, even if they're not getting more paychecks every month. It's still worth it for them.
Yeah.
Where for a mom and pop thing, that's when you start actually, like, going in the red because you only have this one thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, Theory Night in Canada, we hate small business. We hate mom and pop landlords.
Comments be like, wait, communists?
That is our best comment. Shout out to the commenters like, wait, you guys are communists?
Yeah. I think I just gave a thumbs up react to that.
I love that. Perfect.
You should have done the creator heart one.
I did the creator heart for, what's the guy that usually, or what's our bestie?
Sweeting?
Yeah, Sweating.
Yeah.
Sweeting. I gave that guy, I think thumbs up. Or
he
the
made
heart.
fan art for us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, did you see that?
Wait, is this someone we know?
I haven't seen this.
I think it's like someone connected to Shrey. I won't blow them up, but they sent fan art of Shrey to us.
No way.
Shout out to them. That's it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's the article a listener requested us to cover. Truly crazy, incredible find.
Shout out to all our fans, and especially Sweating. We love you, man. We fucking love you, dog.
Okay.
Right.
Speaking of people who should be murdered,
Yes.
healthcare CEOs
Yes.
Let's go.
usually probably aren't very good people.
Yeah.
Someone decided to do something about that
Let's go.
and lit up one recently. Between our previous episode and now, I'm sure everyone who is listening has been following the United Healthcare CEO shooting by Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, literally fucking Luigi's mansion. When I saw that, I thought I was getting pranked. They just put Luigi's mansion and put like an E on the end.
Italian excellence.
But yeah, what an Italian of Luigi Mangione. Holy shit. I can't say it without doing the gesture in my head.
Only found because he could not help himself from talking to a girl in a Starbucks. So at least I know that if I was to go out and pop some
Spencerian
CEOs,
behavior.
like, I'm completely vulnerable and I don't stand a chance. You know?
Now, so he killed the CEO. CEO, got away briefly, but then was caught in a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. I think a McDonald's worker ratted him out, or
yes,
yeah,
2 McDonald's
What the
workers,
fuck?
and
Pause
apparently the
there.
McDonald's
Mind your
workers are
damn
splitting
business.
the bill and are not receiving
Yes,
their money.
so they didn't receive they're not receiving the money at all because they called 911 instead of the tip line, which is apparently standard practice. If you don't call the tip line for a reward, you don't get the reward.
Yeah, and what do you learn, McDonald's workers? Mind your business. Stay on the fucking fries. I don't
Yeah.
understand
So,
why you're snooping around.
Of
like-
course, United Healthcare.
and that's not an
Traders.
insult.
Literally.
You have great fucking fries.
Yeah,
I
that is
really
better.
appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you guys every time I get food there. Don't narc on some guy for having Italian eyebrows,
Yeah.
alright?
Holy shit.
Which is funny because like this guy's like sort of, he looks very Italian. Imagine if they just called the police on some random ass Italian guy. So
Yeah, they probably went down the line. They're like, damn, a really attractive Italian guy is outside. And the other person is like, oh, I can't pay this month's rent. Real shit?
So his motivation was that he had a severe back injury that required surgery, and left him in severe pain, left him impotent, and he was covered by United Health. Apparently, they did not cover what he needed to get fixed, so he decided to go kill the CEO. United Health has the highest claim rejection rate of any health insurance company in the United States. So something like 1/3 of all claims.
Yeah, it's 36%, and they were also working on other AI software that would help them deny even more claims.
like reject even
Yeah,
more.
probably, like, the whole point of insurance companies, especially private ones, is to not cover things. That's how they make more money.
Yeah.
But what they do is they set up this intricate web of traps where they'll go to someone and say, oh, we'll cover you if you break your leg. And then, like, if you slip and fall and break your leg or something like that. But then you'll slip and fall in some grease out front of your house. And they're like, oh, but you can't have, like, stuff outside of your own private property. That'll be in there, so they don't cover you. The AI will be able to it'll be able to navigate this web perfectly to trap people every single time. And it won't even require human labor to trap people.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's like, insurance in general is like a bet between you and the company that something will happen. Right? Like, you're paying them because you expect something to happen, and then the company's betting against that happening. For stuff like a house fire or life insurance, like fire insurance, life insurance, that makes sense. Like, those insurance schemes are not necessarily scams.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, if you die, and unless, like, you kill yourself, life insurance companies will pay out.
Yeah.
Because they have to.
Yeah.
Right? And because that's also, like, an event that is, like, will only happen one time. Right, you only die one time.
Yeah, and as you explain it, it just points out the reason health insurance
shouldn't exist because you will always need healthcare. You will need healthcare multiple times a year. In fact, you should be going to the doctor at least once a year.
Right.
Right. So you are betting basically that you will go to a doctor, and the health insurance company is betting that you won't, which is insane.
And they do everything in their power to justify that you shouldn't have gone to the doctor, or they're not responsible for whatever you did when you went to the doctor.
Yeah, so now also when you go to the doctor, what do you have to do? You have to deal with like 3 hours of being put on hold and like arguments and yelling at people, chances are, if you want to get things covered.
Yeah, the probability of you going to the doctor in a year is like 1. Unless you die. Which is what these healthcare companies are incentivized to do, is keep you alive long enough to collect money and then hope you die before going to the hospital.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole, it fundamentally is made to make you pay in more than they pay out.
Yeah.
So especially for things like life insurance, they say like, oh, we'll pay out this much. And it's like, like you said, a bet against your life. But also know that like, you pay for life insurance unless you die really fast, which they've done the math to make sure that like people are not doing people are not doing that. It's just you'll pay in $100 and get like 75 back. Yeah.
But it's just a bet that like will pay out if you die unexpectedly. Like, it makes sense to pay, like, life insurance you'll probably pay more, or hopefully you'll pay more than you get back, right? But let's say you were to die at 35, it ensures your kids get money that you would have earned otherwise. Like, it's not, I would say most most insurances are not inherently scams any more than any commodity that you buy is a scam. But health insurance is 1,000% a scam that is forced on everyone, that everyone is forced to participate in, even in countries with healthcare like Canada, where you still need insurance for pharmacare and dentistry.
And
eye care.
Eye care, I was gonna say,
because I just spent $1,000 at the optometrist and I'm not insured.
So there's
and even further. Sorry to interrupt you. The existence of health insurance drives up health prices, because if you are an uninsured person, you are not competing with other uninsured people in the healthcare market. You are competing with insurance companies in the market who can afford to pay thousands of dollars per pill. Right? So the very existence, the fact that health insurance is allowed to exist is an insane parasitism on the population.
A 2-second thing before you go is also just one thing that grinds my fucking gears is when a type of insurance is mandatory and it's privatized.
And there's no public option. I'm sorry, there should be a public option for
every insurance. Every insurance. There should be a public option.
Ban cars.
car insurance is a good one.
But there are a few insurances that are typically required. Tenant insurance, car insurance. Both of those are sometimes legally required. There should be a public option that has minimal coverage, but you can just pay like $1 to have. Right? And then there's also like in the US, I think this is no longer the case in 2019. Actually, the Trump administration got rid of this requirement. But Obamacare was so fucking bad that it required people to have health insurance. Like, it added the car insurance requirement to everyone. Like, you needed to have insurance in...
And so forcing people to pay for premiums that they probably couldn't afford maybe. Damn. Fuck that. That's crazy. And so there's this article I was reading from CNN titled "Fear in the C-Suite After United Healthcare CEO."
So we'll talk about the reaction to this, but I'll just finish covering the motivation and stuff. So he kills the CEO. He escapes to Pennsylvania. Is caught by McDonald's workers who will not get the $10,000 award. Good, by the way. Hopefully that disincentivizes people to report
doing those kind of snitching.
Snitching on CEO killers. United Health has said that United Health released an official boilerplate statement. It's like, it's bad that you killed our CEO, whatever. But privately, it has been leaked that United Health will continue to combat unnecessary care and intends to continue to deny coverage at an increased rate. So United Health has not changed their behavior. I think only one insurance company did anything in reaction to this, which was one company that was going to change anesthesiology coverage and walked back that change.
Specifically, they're saying they weren't going to cover anesthetics for the entire length of a surgery.
Which is we're going to determine how long your surgery is going to take because we know, because we're an insurance company. And that's all we're going to pay for. If you go over, it's out of pocket.
Some guy insane. That did a business major is going to decide the length of your surgery, not your surgeon.
So, which is, to me, that's the most, like, Fisherian, like, Mark Fisher aspect of this whole thing, where it's, like, the only positive effect of this, besides, we could talk about the idealist effects and, like, the way this has changed the culture or whatever, and we will. But the only positive effect of this assassination was that things didn't get worse temporarily. Which is like, Mark Fisher talks about the student movement and how it has changed over the last 60 years. He talks about how, like, students used to protest proactively for positive change, and now they protest to prevent cuts. To prevent things from getting even worse than they already are.
Reactive.
I mean, we've always known that fucking unions and stuff like that only exist as, like, a reaction to capital anyways. So it's kind of just like I guess, addition to that is protests are now purely a reaction to things getting worse. It's not really a dream for much better or something like that. But I've really enjoyed this because it actually had quite a few old friends reach out to me and be like, oh, I get it now.
No, that's the other positive thing. It's just like the first world has rediscovered class politics temporarily.
I think there was obvious. The United States is the biggest hurdle when it comes to, like, having some kind of class or solidarity because of like what we're talking about, like that petite bourgeoisie wall that kind of protects.
It's like a culture of petite bourgeoisie.
Yeah. And I think
it's like a Jeffersonian culture.
It's Jeffersonian Hitlerism.
Yeah.
But this highlights the one chip in the wall, like the one thing that like you can, for everyone, you can say like, do you want to know who your class enemies are? Look at who is defending the United Healthcare CEO. And everyone immediately gets it. Like Ben Shapiro supporters get it, and fucking leftists get it. Everyone gets it. Yeah. And I feel like it's such a shame. Like the fact that like there's no political party that's coming up to take advantage of this. No one is saying anything. The DSA is not saying anything. No Green Party is saying anything. The 10 socialist parties in the U.S. aren't saying shit about it. I mean, what is it? What are we doing?
We've been hit with our like a real life trolley problem.
Oh my god.
So one thing I will say, I'll go on another tangent here that is related to this.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think if the United Healthcare CEO assassination had happened like 70 years ago in like the 1950s, we wouldn't have seen this outpouring. And I think it's because like there's imperialism delayed the rate of profit from declining until like the 90s, basically, or the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
I guess the 70s would probably be the best cutoff point. But it was like imperialism kept opening these new frontiers for capitalism, new populations to exploit. But when it reached its its apogee, and sort of progressive decolonization movements started taking off, and the West stopped being like the sole arbiter of what happens around the world.
Yeah.
And I guess every market that could be expanded into was expanded into, every resource that could be exploited was exploited. In the 1970s onward, we start to see the rate of profit declining, and standard of living is like finally declining in the West. And I think there was no class consciousness in the West for a long time, because it's not until like the 2010s that like imperial profits declined to the point that it started to materially affect the proletariat in the Western world, who had been bribed to ignore their class interests up to that point.
Because their lives were okay.
Well, not imperial profits per se, but say imperial super profits.
Thank you, Kautsky.
Not a damn person is hearing you say super profits, but well, I'll say that. So
So I think
like 2008 was a real big turn, where it's like, oh, we're still living this miracle, you know. Even if, like, some stuff is shitty, you know, everyone's getting these houses, we all have a place to live, we all have our own spot, you can still do all of this. And I feel like 2008 was the real crushing moment for that, where it's like, oh yeah, psych, we're not getting this stuff.
Yeah.
You're not getting this stuff. Well, the people who were saying that were relatively okay and went through that crisis relatively unscathed, I would say. So this article said, the big quote in this was like, the big learning is that if you want to kill someone, you can kill them. It's really scary, but it's true, said the executive who spoke on the condition of anonymity.
Wow, who would have known?
Yeah.
Quote,
you can kill someone if you want to.
It seems crazy that we're just figuring this out. What a statement. So that phrase is the exact thing that insurance companies figured out. They figured out that they can kill as many people as they want if they employ certain policies, and they can get away with it. And the fact that like one person killed one person, and like all of a sudden it's like such a huge fucking Bayhard on MSNBC is crying tears about it is like making me go insane.
Yeah, the media's response to this has been so out of touch.
Yeah.
Like every mainstream news outlet and legacy news outlet is like, the dangerous dark cult online of the small minority of people that support Luigi Mangione, as if 99% of people do not support Luigi Mangione.
Yeah. Oh man, where is Bernie Sanders? What does he say?
Honestly, I haven't looked at his YouTube recently.
Take advantage of this situation and like what a way to get more people on your side. I think the only place where like the amount of donations to Bernie Sanders didn't like was exceeded by another candidate when he was doing his primaries is Texas, and what's another conservative state?
Well,
at this point, you got a lot.
But Texas voted Josh Shapiro or someone like that, like some other like Democrat who's like
I think you're talking about the 2020 primaries. I think that was like in terms of like fundraising, Beto O'Rourke.
Did
well but he was also like a Texas Democrat. I think like in the 2020 primary, most people did well in their home state specifically, but Bernie did well. Generally.
Right. And
Okay.
what? Yeah.
Sorry, Bernie Sanders did release, like, he went to Jacobin and did an interview with them about the topic.
Oh, okay.
But the quote that they highlighted was, "Killing people is not the way we're going to reform our healthcare system. That is aberrant and immoral." So, first statement, true. Second statement, false.
Wrong.
The way we're going to reform our healthcare system is having people come together. I guess true.
Having people,
True. Yeah.
Bernie
So-
Sanders advocating for orgies, fellas.
I mean, he is right in that, like, if
Like,
you
adventurism will not change
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah. We're talking about that
if
right
you
now.
boil it down to its adventurism won't do anything. Mass movements will.
Yeah.
And I mean, because he's right, because he's also like one of the last holdouts from the last time there was a mass movement in the West.
Yeah.
And it fucking worked.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, like the Fisheranianism or whatever of this situation being
Fisherian?
Yeah.
being that it's only gonna temporarily halt things. That's the only thing that this kind of adventurers terrorism or adventurism does.
Yeah.
But having said that,
You still
It's still,
drives
let's be
me-
clear, it is still good that he did this.
yeah, he unwittingly did.
You can still derive some grim satisfaction from seeing this done, because you're
Yeah.
like, nothing is changing. Mass movements have been shattered. So like, at least we can get like some healthcare CEO get his back blown out by some by some Italian
stallion.
twink.
Yeah.
by an Italian stallion. Oh god.
Because if you haven't seen pictures of him, the guy's like really hot and really ripped.
Yeah.
And also like my age too, which was kind of
Is he
astounding.
26 actually?
Yeah, he's 26.
Yeah.
Same age as me.
Damn.
Well, same age as me.
The first two things I saw about this was like the first comment that I saw was just some guy. Oh, what? Fuck! Now it just blanked on me. Give me 1 second. Let me meditate on this.
Well, while you say that, I'll say I do love the media coverage where they're trying to interview Luigi's friends, and Luigi's friends keep like trolling the shit out of the legacy media.
Yeah.
Like the one where NBC interviewed one of his friends, and his friend was like, he loved playing assassins in video games. Have you ever heard of Among Us?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That might be one of the best article quotes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it starts. Let me see if I can find the quote, because the quote is so funny.
No, the first thing I saw was, I wonder if lack of immunity to bullets is going to pop up as a pre-existing condition for his life insurance. And then the second thing I saw was like a picture of him, and it was like a screenshot of someone on Twitter. And the only reply was just this girl saying, "Wow, he has hung energy." And I was like, okay, I see how we're going to go about this.
A lot of thirst tweets on Twitter.
Yeah.
I go to like one of the 3 subreddits I follow, which is like hip hop heads, and the song is up from like The Coup, which is 5 million ways to kill a millionaire or something.
Shout out
Or
to the
5,
Coup.
yeah.
Is that with what's his name in it? Boots Riley.
I'm not 100% sure.
Boots Riley also did a movie. Sorry to bother you, about white people and black people in a call center having put on a white voice. Shout out Boots Riley and the Coup. Anyway, go ahead.
5 million ways to kill a CEO is the name of the song. Honestly, shout out to the Coup.
Yeah.
He's got like Fat Cats and Big of Fish. That song fucking slaps.
All right, Liam has something to interject.
My favorite mutiny.
Yeah, I have 2 interjections. To go back to your earlier point talking about declining imperial profits, I'll also say that it seems to be the case that like since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, in the capitalist core, it's no longer seen as necessary to bribe workers anymore.
Yeah.
In part
Yeah.
because there's no like real alternative to point to in the world saying we could do that. And then 2, I think also that it's specifically you see this reaction because it's a healthcare CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to any other CEO, because your average American, no matter what, understands deeply how parasitical the healthcare industry is on a the most intimate level.
Yeah.
They might somehow understand a CEO is more like a parasite on a higher level, but like with healthcare, every American has a nightmare healthcare story.
Yeah.
There's an angle that the media has taken when they describe our Luigi.
Our boy
Luigi.
Yeah.
Wild name.
And I think they want to highlight that he was a privileged guy who had like rich parents or something.
But that just shows how crazy the healthcare system
Right,
is.
and I think you're just telling people that, like, it just sounds to people that, like, you're saying, well, why didn't he skirt the system? But he was rich. Why didn't he dodge it like the rest of the rich guys?
There was a New York Times opinion piece that's saying, like, the killed assassin was, like, the real working class hero because apparently he had, like, working class, quote-unquote, roots. And to that I say, like, revisit the exchange between Khrushchev and Zhou Enlai. Where Khrushchev says...
Good ass point.
Where Khrushchev says to Zhou Enlai, how the hell are you in your position? I'm from a peasant family and you're from mandarins. And Zhou Enlai says, well, we're both traitors to our own classes.
Shut up.
So, the thing is that it's like, that is peak... I think there's two sort of misunderstandings of class in a Marxist sense that a lot of people fall into. One is class as a moral category, and the other is class as a cultural category. So a lot of like schizophrenic mega communists as well as like anti-communists sort of, and those are both the same thing, but they often will group like the proletariat into, or the working class, quote unquote, into a cultural category as like guys who work on oil rigs and drive trucks or whatever, and not like
guys who listen to sissy hip.
Yeah, and they'll be like the cultural elite. They mean people who live in cities or like like Starbucks baristas or whatever, or woke people or whatever. That's like class as a cultural category, and the other one is like class as a moral category, where it's like, oh, someone is not like part of this class if they're morally good, or they're not, like this is like a CEO that's allied with us, or
Elon Musk is working class because he makes electric cars, kind of thing.
Whereas the capitalist class is like my local school board.
I was just gonna
say there's like a literal tweet where someone said that.
There's another kind of class separation that I think is commonly thought of now, where it's like a spatial class thing. And I think that this is important for this, where it wasn't like, oh, a local big business owner or something like that. It is truly this guy that is not like spatial. He is just part of this huge, like, extremely wealthy class that is not confined to any one space. And I think that, like, especially for conservatives and stuff, they hate these people because, yeah, they want, like, capitalism or whatever, but they also want this idea that things are small and around them. They have their family, which is a commune, but we'll not talk about that. And they have, like,
actually,
this
families
community
are anti-communist.
around them.
Read Abolition of the Family.
But they have, like, these people that are around them, and, like, extremely rich CEOs are not part of that system, because what they do is they come in from outside and try to make changes within their community through law and all of that. So it makes it extremely easy for, like, Republicans to hate this guy, because he comes into their communities and fucks with their healthcare. Which would be perfect and a literal dream if they just had no connection to other cities.
I think also small business owners are often viewed as working class because of the class as a moral category thing, where people view them as inherently more worthy of the label of working class than a CEO.
Well, it's again because it's spatial. They see small business as someone that owns this business that's just around the corner.
But people would be
Walmart, you're never gonna meet any CEO like that.
But people would still be more sympathetic to a small business owner 1,000 miles away than if the CEO of Walmart was.
I mean, the secret is they wouldn't hear about a small business.
But if it made the news that a small business owner was assassinated 3,000 miles away.
Actually, yeah, that's true. The Black Lives Matter shit.
Where
it's like, oh, this small business owner had paint on his window.
So it's like
we should just go back to like hangings now.
I think class as a moral category is one big thing that people all over the spectrum fall into. Class as a cultural category is something that is almost a uniquely right-wing phenomenon, where they're like, you are only working class if you meet these shibboleths, basically, right? I forgot what I was going with that, but
well, I was also
Liam, should I read my text for this?
Wait, just a second. I was going to say also, it seems also that sometimes people, especially even now, are like too bound up in the idea that like working class means like manual labor. And that can also kind of feed into this kind of like considering small business owners as working class, because by the nature of their own class, small business owners do still have to labor in their own job, whereas like business owners can kind of just like have their business as a little passive income.
Yeah. Oh, I remember where I was going with that. The CEO is working class. They're confusing the fact that he grew up sort of in this culturally working class background.
There's something called social mobility.
Yeah. But they're confusing his culture with his class, which is not the same thing.
Yeah. Just like Sir Kid Starver being quote unquote working class because his dad owned a tool factory.
I love he's working class. My dad owned.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you actually say that? And he took that as an answer. What the fuck?
Yeah, wrong.
He makes much notice of the fact that his dad owned a tool factory but still worked there, and his mom was a nurse, and he grew up in a trailer.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's both culture and morality as class markers, rather than literally selling your labor to live.
Yeah, selling your
British
labor in
Social
exchange for
Democratic
money.
Party at it again.
Yeah.
The McDonald's where the guy got caught has been flooded with a bunch of fake reviews.
Read some of them out.
Yeah, here are some slaps.
Spencer, you're gonna have to bleep me, but we.
No, do not do. We were just saying adventurism does not do anything.
Why go there when Taco Bell is just across the way and knows how to keep their mouth shut? Next review. This McDonald's is officially the worst place on earth. I walked in for McChicken and what I get? A front row seat to the Rats Olympic floor routine. This little demon sprinted across the dining hall like it had unpaid rent. People screamed, someone dropped the McFlurry, total chaos.
What's the city again?
Altoona?
Okay, look up Altoona pizza. Altoona style pizza. This might be like
the definitive characteristic of Altoona style pizza are a Sicilian style pizza dough, tomato sauce, sliced green bell pepper, salami, which is first the worst sausage to put on a pizza.
Yeah.
Topped with American cheese.
Yeah.
And cut into squares instead of wedges.
I'll probably make Altoona style pizza part of the thumbnail. It is truly the only pizza I've seen that made me almost a little nauseous.
Honestly, wow, they just be doing anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Why would you go to a place with pizza that looks like this? That's my... Also, yeah, if your pizza that you're proud of looks like this... I'm sorry, man.
You're not gonna make it.
Anyways, what we should do is mail a strongly worded complaint to the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Not a mail a letter to them.
Thanks for specifying.
We'll put it in a Canada Post box.
Oh.
Because Canada Post strike has ended today.
What?
You didn't know that?
I was reading into this at 8 o'clock this morning.
Telling me for the first time.
CUPW forced back to work.
Wait, no, because I was reading that they had assigned someone to go in.
No,
I heard that they had were going to try to get people back into work and then give them more time to negotiate.
Nope.
But they were forced back
The
to
labor
work.
minister has officially forced them back to work until May of next year. So the strike is over.
Oh, yeah, for 5 more months, and they have to deliberate until that, I thought. And what's the fucker's name that did this? Same guy that did the negotiations for, an RCMP thing at the teachers' strike that happened recently.
Steve McKinnon?
I don't... Fuck. Okay.
That's who did it.
This is a huge question as to whether I'm really onto something right now, because I did a deep dive on this motherfucker.
Was it today you did that?
Yeah. And what's the fucker's name? Is it Steve McKinnon?
Stephen McKinnon.
Sent them, and who's the guy he sent to do the...
Yeah, Canada Post says on Friday morning, Federal Labor Minister Stephen McKinnon announced he's asking the board to order Canada Post employees back to work, and he is appointing an, quote, Industrial Inquiry Commission, which will have until May 22nd to probe potential ways to reach a new contract agreement.
Yeah, so he's the guy that sent the teachers back with 6.5% raise retroactively and then another 2.75% over the next period or whatever.
That's not bad.
Which is not the worst in the world.
Yeah.
But this is very definitively a way to force an end to the strike without bringing it into the House or anything like that and forcing discussion about it.
Yeah.
Which would show their hand into the fact that they fucking hate workers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just another example of fucking libs doing this thing. This is now what happens when we get a large strike, is they just force someone in there who's best case scenario, oh, you'll get some of your shit. You're not going to be able to fight for all of it. We'll just, like, I don't know, fucking arbitrarily draw a line down the center and see where it balances out to.
Yeah.
Well, I think as things get worse, first of all, I think we might see a return to labor militancy.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I think the reason why we're seeing this sort of behavior from the government is because Trudeau isn't literally an a lame duck. Like,
but functionally,
right? Like, we don't really have lame duck sessions in this country because there isn't this, like, 4-month delay between an election and an inauguration. Yeah, so, like, but Trudeau knows he's fucked, right? So that means that the Liberal Party can execute the unpopular duties of a bourgeois state without any consequences. Because it's not like they're going to win next election no matter what they do.
Yeah. So what is the benefit, though, of doing that?
They get
reinforcing bourgeois power.
Yeah, they get to break up these strikes.
Yeah, they get to show capitalists that they're actually on their side and they don't have to be scared to, like,
vote
advertise
for them in the next 6 years.
It signals to people, first of all, the Liberal Party is willing to do the tough stuff and you can vote for them in the next election.
Yeah.
Also, it on a personal level...
Well, not this one, but the one after.
Yeah. On a personal level, it signals to all the think tank parasites that hire MPs after they retire that these are people who can be trusted to pump out whatever it is think tanks do. Articles.
Yeah.
Think tank pieces. National Post.
No, I came here and I was ready to talk about how fucking strange all the reporting on the Canada Post strike has been.
Holy shit!
Oh yeah, here's my call to action. Local.
Enough.
Local think tank.
Liam is gonna say your local Hitler at heart, and then recommend 99% of the population for being Hitlerites. No, but it's like every other article is like, oh, no one's actually noticing the fact that Canada Post is on strike because, like, they don't actually do that much. And then the next article is like, businesses are no longer sending mail because the Canada Post alternatives are too expensive. And then you get like, oh yeah, well, mail's not getting to where it needs to be. We have this TikTok star with 12 fans who wants to send letters.
I saw... Was there 2 different headlines or something like that?
I'm just referring to last episode.
Oh, okay. Well, we already kind of talked about it. Like, seeing things like that, I'm like, wow, they're just making up fake people just to defend, like, the fucking Canada Post Corporation.
Yeah.
Well, these are real people who actually do this influencer thing every Christmas. They be sending out, like...
I guess so.
Oh
there has to be, like, OnlyFans girls sending, like, pictures of feet with a bow over it, you know?
But wait, OnlyFans an app?
Yeah, there's the digital way of doing it is the fastest and most instantaneous way.
It's not as personal. Let me tell you, I got 3.
Hell no.
Oh my god.
No, but, like, yeah, every single time, it's, like, articles simultaneously referring to Canada Post as being not worth it or useless or expensive or something like that, while on the other side saying that, like, it's grinding things to a halt. This is bad for the Indigenous community. They need to stop this now. And, like, or is this bad to people who are in rural areas and all of that? Every single thing is both ways. But, like, if anyone had a second of integrity, they would note that, like, oh, when you don't get the National Post Office doing something, places that are not very profitable to bring mail to don't get their mail.
Right.
So if we have someone that brings mail to places that aren't that profitable to bring mail to or are unprofitable, you know what that's going to do? 1, it will operate at a loss.
Yeah.
But 2, we shouldn't just like banish these people to never getting mail.
Yeah. But also there's only like 3 places in this country it is profitable to bring mail to.
Yeah.
Like
Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver.
Yeah. So it's like the fact that people are talking about the expense of it without saying that they bring mail to places that are otherwise unprofitable means, like we said, that Canada Post, we can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a complete disaster.
Canada Post needs to fly mail to communities only accessible by air in the deep Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
That's never going to be profitable.
Yeah.
And also, like...
But no one's mentioned that.
Yeah, but, like, the state can't... we can't get rid of Canada Post because, like, no matter what Poilievre says or does, like whatever these ideologues in the Conservative Party say about libertarianism or market options, at the end of the day, Canada as a state and Canada's national bourgeoisie need Arctic communities because they signal to the international community that Canada has a right to the Arctic waters.
Right.
I wonder what's in those Arctic waters.
Oil.
Yeah.
Oil and a Northwest Passage in maybe 30 years.
And the Northwest Passage that is slowly opening.
Yeah.
And it's just been insane how there's not like a shred of honesty in reporting about the National Post. Every single article. The Canada Post. National Post. I've been saying that this whole time, haven't I?
You said the National Postal Service?
Yeah, I caught myself there. I didn't catch myself this time. Canada Post. But, it has been absolutely wild to read.
That's why I'm kind of nothing ever happens pilled, on this specific issue, and obviously...
And every other issue.
Yeah, but on this specific issue, I'm like, Canada Post isn't going anywhere, because it's like, I think the people who pull the strings of the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party and stuff, I think the bourgeoisie nowadays are kind of dumber than they used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think they're not so dumb as that
they know they're trying to get rid of it.
That they're like, we need to abandon these northern communities that, by the way, they genocidally moved people to. 60 years ago, we forced the Inuit to resettle from northern Quebec into these territories. It would be for this exact reason, because we knew we were going to need those people there eventually to claim the territorial water up there.
No, rich people aren't that smart. They just have enough money that they can pay smart people to do their shit for them.
And I think the people they paid for that have gotten dumber.
Yeah. And that's why, I don't know. I don't listen to him that often, but it seems like Poilievre's, is relying on talking points and, culture war stuff, more so than anything else to build up any kind of cachet for the next election, because it doesn't make sense to turn the CBC building into a rental unit. It doesn't make sense to get rid of Canada Post. These things just don't fundamentally economically make sense to do, and so he's just gonna keep chewing his apple. And
he'll just be a continuous phrase generator where he'll stand up and be like, axe the tax, vote for carbon tax, Maserati Marxist, and just say the same bullshit over and over. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'd fuck with being a Maserati Marxist.
Is a hard.
Yeah, give all Marxist Maseratis now.
Just a rehash of the old champagne socialist, limousine liberal. That's
I guess so, but that just rolls out with Maserati.
I gotta hand it to him. It is slick as hell.
Limousine liberal. I didn't know about these words, to be honest.
Yeah, they're old phrases from our parents' generation.
Look, this is again nothing ever happened. Every single term that comes out is just a rehash of a previous term.
Yeah,
and the digital culture has made that extremely obvious. Is you pretty much just have the gay or the queer or black community come up with a cool new term to say something.
Honestly, it's usually
liberals
the black
find out about
then
it.
The queer community.
Yeah,
liberals get it from the queer community.
Yeah, and then it just gets total saturation once it people ironically start posting. And then the same thing is now that everyone has it, the black or queer community will come up with another term for it, and then just again, and again, and again, and again.
And Taylor Swift's? Never mind. I don't want to be a Taylor Swift hater. Let's move on.
You already hit your quota last episode.
One thing I do.
I couldn't do that to Taylor Swift. No, generally Taylor Swift brings people joy that I don't know. The Taylor Swift concert, I can't imagine, like I said, people would dedicate a time to do things together with their friends that was nice to see. I saw this dad with glitter on his face, probably taking his daughter out. Trudeau, how the fuck did you get that money?
Yeah, how do you get that money? And it was guaranteed. We got it for you guys here. This is the first reporting on it. Trudeau got that money through sexual favors with Taylor Swift.
I see.
She needed someone to spend some time with her while she was away in Toronto, and she knew who to call up.
Yeah.
All right. Already had a few hookups, but didn't quite end up, making it big.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One thing I want to cover is probably something our listeners do not know about, because it's specific to the machine learning researcher community. Like
somehow I caught wind of this, and if I catch wind of something, I imagine many people have heard of it.
Well,
because I don't hear.
I think you might have
much.
caught wind of it because I sent it to the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I sent it to like multiple chats. So this is like a crazy story. So I figured I'd cover it because it's like you're probably not going to hear of this otherwise.
Yeah,
and
let's
it's
hear
like
it.
crazy. So a Chinese researcher, who's sort of like a whiz kid, up and coming guy called Ku Tian.
Okay.
He works for ByteDance, which is like the TikTok company, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Parent
So.
company.
He like works in their machine learning research department, and he won a prestigious award very recently for his paper that he submitted to NeurIPS. So his paper was Visual Autoaggressive Modeling, Scalable Image Generation via Next Scale Prediction VAR. So for context, NeurIPS, formerly NIPS, but the name was changed in 2018.
Fuck.
Understandable.
Is it's one of the most prestigious and important conferences in machine learning.
Okay.
So winning like the best paper award there is a big deal. Right. So an open letter was published and like distributed to big researchers, and it's been like blowing up. Titled Ethical Challenges Related to the NeurIPS 2024 Best Paper Award, which is like talking about
in academia, if you say there's a slight problem, you know it's about to be a nuke.
So basically what this open letter is alleging, and no one knows exactly where it's from, but it's presumably from other Chinese machine learning researchers who are upset with this guy for his behavior. They are complaining that he basically did this insane hacking scheme to ruin other people's research and steal computing resources to put on his project. So ByteDance has like millions of GPUs that they use.
He's funded by Byte. That's
Yeah.
how he. Holy shit!
So what he was doing was the 5 things that the other researchers are alleging are modifying PyTorch source code. So he went into the library source code for building models and changed it, like the version that ByteDance uses, so that only his model would work. Then he went into like training processes that like other people were training models. He went in and stopped their training in the middle of training. And this is like giant training projects that cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars per like execution, basically.
Yeah, because these like a while sometimes.
Because these can take like I guess I don't know the exact models we're talking about, but they can take like weeks to train.
Over thousands of GPUs.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Costing millions of dollars.
That alone, isn't that illegal? Like you can't just turn off someone's work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
So he also gained unauthorized access to servers by creating login backdoors, allowing him to launch automated attacks against running processes of other researchers. He would go into he would take trained models that other researchers had made and manually change the weights so that they would break. And when when the lab was trying to figure out what the heck was going on, and this is like one of the biggest labs in China. They were trying to figure out what was going on. He would show up to the debugging lab to help.
Trying to help. Oh my God! Yo, your boy who stole your shit trying to help you find it.
So how did we wrap this back to Among Us?
So he would show up to the debugging meetings and then take notes on how they them figuring out what's going on. Like if they would like, oh, someone's hacking us, here's how we stop this attack vector, he'd be like, here's how I counter the stopping of the attack vector. So
this guy.
So
That's
he would
fucking crazy.
So he would do this to steal resources, so that he would prematurely stop other stuff and like ruin other projects in order to both delay rival projects and also take GPU resources for his project. Since this letter is dropped, ByteDance has released an official statement that is basically like, we're looking into it and the damage is probably not as extensive as you think it is. But the current estimates are $10 million in damages.
Yeah.
ByteDance is suing this researcher, looking for $1.1 million in compensation. And like, this is like all over the machine learning research sphere right now.
Wait, so are people taking ByteDance to task, or like?
Well, ByteDance didn't like...
Oh, they didn't technically do anything?
Right, so ByteDance is the victim of this attack, basically.
How are they the victim?
So he is the lab he works in is sort of like funded by ByteDance.
Oh, okay.
And the lab was using ByteDance's resources, and ByteDance lets a bunch of different labs use these resources.
Oh.
So he was going in and fucking with
the projects.
Yeah.
You might have been using the same labs. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
ByteDance are like the victims here.
Right.
As are... Well, I mean, I guess the primary victims are the other researchers he fucked over.
Yeah.
But ByteDance are the company whose resources were misappropriated for this.
Yeah.
So ByteDance has fired him. They're suing him. This guy's career is like over.
Done. about a NIPS award. Oh my god.
But anyways, I wanted to share that story because it's insane.
Wow.
No, it's
but like,
actually,
he's got to be like, if you're in the debugging meeting, he's got to feel like Hannibal Lecter,
right?
You got to feel like a mad genius.
Oh my god, bro! Taking notes.
The rush he must have felt.
Right?
Doing
doing that. And so much effort put into this. I feel like at some point, to him it was about the game, man.
Yeah.
Like, was it about, like, he didn't care about, like, the research or anything. It was about winning.
I think this was about prestige more than that. Like, he wanted to win the NeurIPS award, and he wanted no one else to be even close.
Right, yeah.
And Frank, this guy was doing like attack shit, like doing his cybersecurity shit as well, like blue and red team on top of doing his AI course. This guy is like genuinely fucking genius.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Honestly, I think what will happen to this guy, the Chinese government will probably take him on into the Ministry of State Security.
I don't think he's gonna have it that bad because he's clearly shown how good he is at this.
Yeah. He is both an incredible machine learning researcher and a genius hacker.
Yeah. Imagine though if like he gets hired, the Chinese government takes him in.
Yeah.
And then after a while they figure out, oh, this guy, we need people to do international hits, and this guy can only do local hits. Like places he has access to. Oh man.
Look,
but that's a crazy story I just wanted to share with you guys.
No, that shit slaps.
Oh man.
Fucking academia drama is kind of always good.
Yeah.
Because it is one of those professional settings where they have kind of that British style thing where you're not allowed to be like, that sucked. You have to say, like, I enjoyed your presentation.
But that's how you say that.
Yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
like, oh yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting, is what you say if you did not give a single shit about what the person just said. So when you see them and they're just like, oh, there might have been some small problems with the NeurIPS award, $10 million gone. Like, fundamentally, the like trust of the like hardware used gone.
This is like the thing with academia too is like research is supposed to be collaborative. You're building off what other people are doing. Every paper is like 1,000 people in the authors list. Turning it into a PvP thing is like deranged.
Market competition and research.
From research in general.
Yeah. But it's also like a lot of takes I've seen are like researchers that are like, this is, and I think the open letter itself is like, this is an inevitable result of the insane competition between academics for the very few jobs. Right? Like there are more people with PhDs than there are professorships, right?
All right.
Like
there's positions where they need people with PhDs.
Yeah, which means that like the amount of people who can be it's very hard to be a professor, even for a field like machine learning, which is like super hot right now, and is very difficult to get a PhD in. There's still too many PhDs.
The reserve army of PhDs.
Yeah, the reserve army of postdocs.
You need to put them to work.
Yeah.
So you heard it on this show. Stop getting a PhD. If you are working towards a doctorate, give up now.
The open letter says that by awarding this paper, the research community inadvertently endorses an approach that not only undermines core values of scientific research, but also unintentionally promotes a culture where academic success is prioritized over personal integrity. The overproduction of PhDs is what has caused this, not the NeurIPS award.
Right.
The fact that there are not enough professorships and too many PhDs.
Right.
No, this whole like thing of everyone was like, oh, now that we have all these resources and the world is so good, we could get more people to go to school.
Yeah.
You know, and like do more interesting stuff and more people that can chase their passions in research. And then on the other end of that pipeline, we've come out with like, this shit doesn't pay. It takes forever. It's all worthless. You're still not going to get a job.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of brutal.
Speaking of, I don't know, I can't do this. Speaking of brutal, Donald Trump's reaction to Justin Trudeau's visit.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, how embarrassing. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. That picture he posted on Truth Social, that was like, was that right after that meeting?
Which picture?
The picture of him with the flag. Saying,
Oh, right.
Canada.
Yeah, that was very soon.
That was
after,
very
I
soon
believe.
after.
God, he really like just like he just embarrassed Justin Trudeau on the biggest level I've ever
like,
seen.
Trump initially came
Oh, sorry.
out.
Just for the listeners at home, we're talking about Trump
Yeah.
threatening to annex Canada over tariffs.
Yeah.
Was there a specific like post or something that he said, or is it just a vibe he's giving out?
No, it's a quote he said during the meeting with Trudeau.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's because when this first came out, I think I briefly touched on tariffs and kind of how they work. They need a little bit more detail in there, but whatever. But first he was like, oh, there's going to be tariffs. And I thought this was just going to be like Trump trying to strongman the start of things, where he just like puts out like a big posture, threatens a bunch of people, and then can get a reaction out of it. So I thought there was an underreaction from the Liberals, but I thought that was a good thing. I was like, oh, okay, they're not going to buy into it, you know?
Yeah.
I figured he was just going to say, oh, we're going to put tariffs on everything, and then he would get elected and nothing will happen. And then he posted that picture of, like, him with the Canada flag, which kind of a confusing picture.
Yeah, which implies, like, the Canada flag implies that Canada is going to annex the U.S.
And, like, it almost seems like he's just so proud of being Canadian.
Yeah, like
Which
a
is
better
kind of
picture.
interesting.
Better picture would have been like him looking at the Toronto skyline with an American flag.
Yeah. Yeah, or like, I don't know, you could do the Rockies or like a bunch of like Canadian symbols or something.
like
Because it was AI generated.
like Chateau Frontenac or something.
Yeah, like it was AI generated. He could have had like the beavers and shit in there. I'm sure like fucking whatever he used would put beavers if you say Canada.
Canada, yeah.
And then he came out and was just like, I talked to the future governor of the 51st state, Justin Trudeau.
Also, just imagine the entire Canada being one state with how many fucking electoral votes.
It's bigger than them.
And how will this affect the election going forward? Like
Top 5, baby.
Yeah, like even if God, what a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, I think he did say that he wanted to split it into 2 states. Like,
so much better.
I think he said he wanted to make it a red Canada and a blue Canada.
Got you.
I want to see the most gerrymandered Canada.
I was gonna say, because you can't, you're gonna have to create a fucking.
I want it to be done city street by city street. Everything that would go red versus blue, snaking through each other like that fucking Tron game.
That's right. You take a bus from
Like-
North York, your blue state.
Yeah.
Your bus goes into Don Valley area red immediately.
No, but that is kind of strange because I thought it was just going to be like a strongman posture that would quickly be forgotten once the threat, once the shock was there.
Yeah.
The shock that he was big, he was back,
Yeah.
and then it would fade away. But it the fact that it's now 3 times, twice as well. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, he's following up. 3 times is actually starting to be a little bit concerning.
It's for sure.
I wouldn't be concerned because it's every time Trump, the last time Trump got elected,
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. He just governed as a normal ass Republican president because he
Yeah.
does not actually want to be president.
Yeah.
He wants to be president in the sense that he wants to be famous.
Yeah.
And he wants to be
But there's a lot of small things he doesn't really.
he doesn't want to
wanna
actually
do.
run the United States.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that his biggest regret was running for president?
Yeah.
And he would never do it again.
A lot of the time he's like, oh, I hated being president. But do you remember the incident, Nana, during the election where he was doing some fucking small business truck dealership, whatever. He was doing a rally, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, trucks. Those are beautiful trucks.
Yeah,
What if I just got in one and
truck
drove
rode
away?
Yeah.
Once he's in office, this will be forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't think Canada's at any risk from
Yeah.
the U.S., especially because the people who actually run the U.S. when Trump is in charge know they can just bully Canada into doing whatever they want,
Yeah.
as they've done before with blue and red presidents. Obama stole the Great Lakes from us. People forget this.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Obama did steal water from us already. People are like, oh, Canada can't continue to exist in the 21st century. Water will become too valuable.
Right.
What if Canada withholds water from the U.S.? Canada will not withhold water from the U.S.
Yeah.
We already know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, literally our job is to be very closely extracted by the US.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of it. We win out by extracting from other nations, but lose out because we're extracted by the US.
Yeah.
So we make less and all of that than the US because we're not, the core, the
Yeah.
imperial core. But like we can still have some nice things
Yeah.
in theory. Well, this goes against my we can't have nice things anymore theory. But like, yeah, we can still, like, we're kind of the U.S. and maybe we don't make as much, but at least we have a better healthcare system.
Yeah.
We're just like the U.S. Well, we don't have as much money. Yeah, like, but we have these select things, like the pension program is still around, or the education system is a little better. And we very, like, selectively picked these wins that we would hold on to. But it seems like as time goes on, it's kind of like the whole neoliberal thing has kicked in more. We have been losing these things. Like, the healthcare system is kind of eroding. The culture war is very much kind of bleeding up as well. And, like, yeah, it seems like those main bastions of what kind of makes us Canadian is failing a little bit. So I don't think we're going to get, like, annexed or anything. But I am really curious to see, like, if
like.
something happens with this.
Yeah, like Bennett said, I don't think anything is gonna happen with this. Like, if Trump wanted to and like asked for like plans to try, even that will overwhelm him so much that he'll be like, yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Like,
generals would be like, so we're gonna attack at 6 a.m. Trump would be like, that's too early. I'm no longer interested.
he's like, yeah, give me a Diet Coke.
No, honestly, oh man, all the people who are freaking out about how Biden was too old from like the Republican side of things are seriously not realizing how old Trump is now. Like, this guy is, like, we know Biden was sundowning. I think we have an episode named after it.
Yeah.
But like, Trump is kind of getting there, I think. I don't think he has the energy in him at the end of the day. 6 a.m. might be the perfect time for an invasion for him because he's probably waking up at 5:45 anyways.
Oh, yeah,
and he's
yeah.
probably bored because his family's not doing anything at 5:45. Everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Like,
that,
but yeah, I feel like this is going to be used to try to force more
This is the guy.
concessions out of Canada to become like just further extracted.
Yeah.
And
Dude's got
we're
male
not gonna
manipulator
lose
glasses.
everything, but it will just be a little bit less.
yeah. And what was Doug Ford's reaction? Because I didn't hear about that.
So Doug Ford has been the only politician who has actually responded strongly to this among Canadians. He's starting to cut off power.
So I think first his first reaction was I feel like we've been stabbed in the back by a family member
Yes,
or something
yes.
like that.
He was really mad.
And now he's actually gonna cut.
He's like, I'm going to cut off power to the U.S., which is not an idle threat because Ontario and Quebec provide like the majority of power to the Northeast.
Oh, in the U.S.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, if I think like one time power went down in Quebec and it like wiped out New York and New England.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's like
Wait, are you talking about 2002?
maybe.
Because that was a power plant in Ohio that shit the bed.
No, there was an incident in Quebec where it went down and fucked up the East Coast too.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a shout out to Doug. I can't believe I'm saying this. Shout out to Doug Ford for actually having balls with this. I think this is a good thing.
As one of Doug Ford's biggest haters, it is kind of embarrassing how he's the only one to take
He's
a
like-
W on this.
Yeah.
Like, Poilievre's been saying do something, and then when I asked what he would do, he was just like, he literally just said, I'm leaving now, and then just walked off stage. So, like, he thought he was being tough, but,
Yeah. You know, I actually...
if you want to run with the big dogs, alright, you gotta get off the
do what you
porch,
gotta
buddy.
do. I actually would want to know what Poilievre would do against the Trump presidency.
Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Trudeau
What can he
doesn't do anything either.
Yeah.
like, what-
Honestly, like, Trump sternly talking to him, Poilievre probably got a little wet, you know? Like,
the thing is that it's
Yeah.
like Pierre Trudeau, the original Trudeau was right. Canada and the U.S. is a mouse sleeping in bed with an elephant,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the mouse gonna do? Like,
Right.
what can Trudeau do to the
Right.
U.S.? All he does is like sort of smugly be like, "Isn't it embarrassing that Trump threatened to annex Canada?" It's like as if the U.S. wanted to annex Canada, they could do it,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing we can do about any of this other than like team up with Mexico to punish the U.S. in the few ways we can.
And in that,
And even then, Mexico, like we in Mexico have been like beefing over this too.
of course,
Yeah.
that's why I was like, why didn't he do that? Like that's like a perfect example of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend to like work together with Scheinbaum.
No, Mexico and Canada have. I don't remember the exact reasoning why, but for some reason, Canada and Mexico have also
There you
been
go.
mad at each other over this issue, the tariffs.
The tariff issue.
Yeah,
Is it a NAFTA thing?
the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement.
Yeah.
I know Mexico like releases statements like Canada is like a cultureless wasteland in reaction to the tariff beef. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
I mean, they're not wrong. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It is a little embarrassing that we got hit like that.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, like, what's Trudeau supposed to do? Like, fight back? If we really try to screw over America, we just get crushed. Like, that's it.
Yeah. I think like that's the thing. Like Trudeau should then just I don't know. What is the point of saying anything? I guess like what is the point of
All
having
he
a
can do
meeting?
is just be like, oh, but
At
we're
all.
such good friends.
Yeah,
like,
that's all I can imagine him at the meeting, just being like nice and like
Yeah.
like friendly and stuff, and like being bossed around and shit. Ugh.
Okay, so the motivation was apparently Trudeau was sucking up to Trump and being like, "Oh, you should cut Mexico out of the Canada-U.S. Mexico
Oh my
agreement."
god!
And, like, because we're such
Yeah.
good friends and
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
help you
yeah.
with border security or whatever.
Holy
And then Mexico
shit.
was like, "Are you retarded?"
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexico.
That is
I think the unspoken part is like
unreal.
Mexico's like, "Are you an idiot? The whole point of this agreement is for you to ship jobs to us for cheap."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, Scheinbaum said, "We're not going to fall for a provocation of which country is better. Mexico should not be used as part of Canadian electoral campaigns. Canada, quote, could only wish they had the cultural riches Mexico has."
Oh my gosh.
So Trudeau has
that shit.
Trudeau has kind of fucked this up already by sort of beefing with Mexico,
Mexico.
preemptively.
Wow.
When Mexico should be our closest ally in this
Yeah.
affair.
We need to pull a united front.
Yeah.
Not like is she just like too left for Trudeau?
I think Trudeau just figured he could rely on American racism to
Yeah.
fuck over Mexico.
And I guess he
Yeah.
had to appeal to it because he was like, what does Trump like doing? Like screwing over allies through like trade shit. So he
Yeah.
was like, how about this? We put trade shit screwing over allies on the table.
Right.
But for the Mexicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem so concerned with getting a win from Trump. Like you said, who cares? Like, what win is he actually gonna give that's actually gonna benefit Canadians?
Here's what we should be doing is team up with Mexico, start exporting shit to China and Europe.
Yeah.
Yo.
I've been saying
But yeah, they
The
need to
closer-
try to
That
tell
should
it.
have been the what we should have done
Solution from the beginning.
is team up with Mexico
And China.
and punish the US by teaming up with China and the EU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, this is another. I've been saying we should get closer with China for a long
we've
ass
been,
time.
we
And
have
also,
been saying,
like,
yeah.
one thing that is crazy about this is like we've had two major trade deals like this, and Canada, the U.S., and Mexico are like pretty damn tight bond. Like, and the fact that even that has gone insane with like the whole tariff war thing, like what is, yeah. So one of the fascinating things about this is you do protectionism because you're getting extracted from. We now have the king extractor doing protectionism. So the question is like, one, like why is this a thing? And I'm sure it's because, oh, back in my day, protectionism rocked. You know, like I'm sure that's the mindset behind it. But like, this is another thing of like America just forcing allies away, even when they win out from it.
Yeah.
You know, so they're throwing away their W's, and they're just going to be left with whatever L's they've taken since like 1982.
Protectionism works well when you are developing productive forces. If you are not doing that, protectionism only hurts you. Right? It's like Trump wants to implement this tariff regime, but is he going to build factories in a developmentalist way? No. All this will do is make like capital expenditure more expensive.
Yeah.
You know what this might do? Or you know what this might be, not do, actually. Is, you know, the whole thing of like, oh, as your nation develops, you go more towards the service sector than the goods sector. Yeah. All right? You do less material processing and more, just other intellectual service stuff.
There's also like no reason why that should be the case.
Yeah. But it might be like, oh, we want the GDP to go up. You know what is extremely hard to increase GDP with is the service sector. If you have a 15-minute doctor's appointment, you have a 15-minute doctor's appointment. You're either going to use up the full 15 minutes or like you're going to get kicked out at the end of the 15 minutes.
Right.
It's always going to be that. And it's hard to make that go any better. It's much easier to increase GDP with constantly selling more goods. So this is going to be hard for us now because people have and are aware that they already have way more shit than will ever make them more happy. But I have a feeling there might be a thing of just like, oh, if we want the GDP to go up, instead of just doing more service stuff, we need more actual production in our country. So it might be trying to push for that, but like, I feel like that train left.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the reason why this is like, we've moved more to a service economy is because the rate of profit declined, and the only way to restore it was to reduce the variable capital expenditure by moving it to places where they could spend less on wages and benefits and like labor protections.
Yeah.
And even now even that's running out.
Yeah. No, it's look, I think we might be getting some interesting times.
I think something...
Not in our lives, because nothing ever happens.
I think something...
But once I die, the next day, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's in 80 more years, the next day something big will happen.
I think something might happen in the next couple decades, but you will not hear about it first on Twitter. That is my guarantee to a specific listener. Anyways, is that all we're covering this week? Because we're already an hour and a half.
We got an hour 40. I think that's about good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Good episode.